Hello, and welcome to Spokane County Spotlight. I'm your County Commissioner, Josh Kearns, and my guests today are from the Mead School District. We have President of the Board of Directors, Michael Cannon, and the Superintendent, Travis Hansen. Welcome, Michael and Travis, to the program. It's great to have you both here. As a Mead School District alum myself, specifically Mount Spokane High School grad, I'm very excited to talk about the great things going on in the district and really dive into the excellence and the way that the district has really been thriving in recent years. But before we jump into that, can I ask each of you to give us a little bit of background about yourself and kind of who you are?
Sure, I'm Michael Cannon. I'm on the Mead School Board, as you just said. First ran in 2019, so I'm just starting my second term, was elected again last fall, but I've lived in the district for many years, probably 20-ish years. My son grew up in Mead schools. I grew up in Spokane, mostly in the valley and surrounding areas, moved to Seattle for a little bit, as so many of our young people unfortunately tried to move away. I was one of the ones that discovered that Spokane is actually way better than I thought it was. So I moved back, coming to the conclusion that Spokane's a great place to raise a family, and Mead schools especially. And so when I moved back to Spokane, I specifically moved within the Mead district. So we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, so my son went to middle school and high school in the Mead district, and I figured toward the end of his high school years was a fantastic time to get involved as a parent and as a local business owner, and so that's my story.
All right. Travis.
I too am a proud Mead grad on the other side of the district, Mead High School. And after graduating, spent 7 years in Seattle after graduating from the University of Washington. Came back and taught in the Mead district for 10 years. Was a social studies, English, and computer networking teacher. And then left Mead for 18 years and got into administration, did building administration, district administration. Just previous was a superintendent of schools in Deer Park. And am so thrilled to be back in the Mead school system. It's been fantastic to return, rekindle some previous relationships, meet a ton of new people. Being gone for 18 years, a lot has changed, but thrilled to be back and excited to be about the work.
All right. Now, that is a theme that you see a lot in the Mead district. And I can remember it from my time after I graduated. A lot of my friends were like, "Oh, you got to go to the big city," and within a number of years, they were back. They're back, and they said they missed it. They're like, "This place is great," and that is one of the things that I think is very common in the Mead district. There's a lot of Mead alums that move back in the Mead district. A lot of my neighbors I went to high school with, we were all kind of there in that same time frame. So, folks keep coming back and they want their kids to go through the district as well.
Yeah, it's just such a great area. Apart from just the geography of the beauty that we all experience around here and love to live here, the number one reason that people choose where they purchase property or a home is because of the school districts. And so thankfully, Mead has had a very long run of excellence in education. And so Mead and Center Valley and others around the area, I mean, Spokane has great schools around here. And so that's a big draw for families with young children, is they want to be in an area where they're confident in the education that their students are going to receive. And not only academically in Mead, but we focus on the whole experience that the student has access to, whether it's performing arts, athletics, all sorts of extracurricular activities. Our emphasis on just preparing kids to be future ready. So these things, I think, set apart our district as well as others, but we're focused on Mead. So yeah. That's one area that we've really tried to excel in. And I think that's proven out when people want to be back in the district,
Yeah, and that leads into actually the next question I was going to talk about was, I mean, all those things that you just talked about are very much, those are local decisions, and I know you're a big proponent of local decision making. How do you stay connected with the students and families to kind of help drive what that local desire is, and as far as operations and the direction of the district, the direction that it's heading?
Yeah. Good old-fashioned personal networking. Honestly, I spend a lot of time talking with parents, whether it's over coffee or emails or on the phone or I try to stay very personally connected to folks in our district and hear feedback, good and bad, areas that we can improve, as well as areas that we excel in and that they're happy about. So I spend a lot of just one-on-one time in our district. I also try to be present at a lot of district events. We have, on any week, we have athletics, concerts, academic events, awards, banquets, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think in the month of May and June, I averaged probably 3 or 4 events per week, just because there's so much going on at the end of the year. But I love being in those environments where, our students and our staff and our parents are there gathering. It does a couple things. One, having the board members present at those events shows support to our staff and to our students and families. But also it's just accessibility. It gives me a chance to have conversations with as many people as I can touch. And so, I just try to be present at a lot of events and meet one-on-one.
All right. And I can certainly appreciate the opportunities for family involvement. My wife is a part of the PTO at the elementary school that our children go to, and I've volunteered at many of the events that they have there, kind of their games days and after school events that they've had. But Travis, I'd like to ask, how is the district committed to kind of building on that culture of learning and excellence?
Well, that idea of culture for learning, I think, is critical. It's the cornerstone of what we do in schools. In the Mead School District, one of the things as I returned in August and had a chance to address staff, I talked about really 3 key ways that culture for learning needs to be evident. And number one, just fostering a sense of belonging in our kids and in our staff. That connection that people have to the system is so important. And I think we can give lip service to this concept of belonging, but kids that are connected, that feel valued, that feel challenged, those are kids that succeed. So that sense of belonging is so important. Next, a sense of purpose. I think our core purpose, this culture for learning that you mentioned, is at the very core of what we do in schools, is instilling a sense of purpose in kids. Kids that don't get a sense that learning adds value to their lives are kids that become disconnected from our system and are in some sense disillusioned with school. So that core premise of purpose and seeing that learning adds value to my life is so important. And then third is really just fostering a sense of curiosity in kids, just that innate curiosity that they have about the world around them, about one another. So belonging and purpose and curiosity, I think, are really at the core of what I want to be about as a school system. That makes its way into our core academic programs. Those concepts make their way into all of our extracurricular and co-curricular programs. And I think it's a common fabric. It's a thread that needs to be a part of our community. That sense of Mead is a great place to be, and that sense of giving kids purpose for their lives, and that sense of just wanting them to be curious about the world around them, so important.
All right. And you're coming up or just past your 1-year mark as superintendent of Mead School District. Now, and you said in your introduction, you're certainly no stranger to the district, having been a student, you were a teacher, then I believe you did work in the district office before going to another district and then back. So having seen the district from all of those different levels and all of those different viewpoints, what's that transition been like, and how, what's that experience been like for you?
Well, number one, I would share, it was an immensely warm welcome. I was thrilled with the people that reached out and shared their sense of excitement, which was certainly in concert with my sense of excitement for the job and the work in Mead. What I would say is that, Mead in North Spokane, unincorporated North Spokane County, is going through a real unique phase. So, prior to my departure, and really for the last 40 years, the Mead story has been a story of growth. And the Mead area has grown. Since the time I left 18 years ago, there are 5 new facilities. So, and then you want to back up a little further than that. In the time when I was a student, we're talking Mead was a district of about 6,000 kids, and now over 10,000 kids. New facilities. Growth has been the story. I think people might be surprised as they look around Mead and to see some ongoing construction. They might be surprised to hear that we're actually going through a period of enrollment decline. And so that's a unique new story for this system, and it has come at a time when there are certainly a lot of challenges at the state level, financial challenges that the district has experienced, and experiencing those at a time when your enrollment is declining is a challenge. So continuing to want to offer fantastic programs, to want to continue to do all of the things that the district has been for decades, but doing so in a unique economic climate and at a unique time when we mentioned that reality of families that came to Mead and stayed, and the kids that they had that went through the system came back. We're in a cycle where home affordability is a significant issue. And so just the presence of affordable housing, that is the lack thereof of affordable housing, is an issue. And so I think what we're seeing is that in addition to people having fewer kids, we also see young families struggling to find affordable homes in the area. And so I think that's a bigger issue than just the Mead School District is going to take on. But it's an issue I think that we see throughout Spokane County. And it's an issue that as I think about the work that we have to do in our system, it's really wanting to continue to be a place not only where families want to be, but a place where families can be. So we're seeing also a shift in the types of housing that we're seeing go up in the Mead School District. So we're seeing a lot of new apartment units. That's going to be a unique shift in that we're going to see a much higher, I think, transience rate. People who are in those apartments, typically, I believe the figures show us, stay for a period of about 3 to 5 years before they move on to a different apartment unit, or they leave the area altogether. And that's a very different reality than the families that came to Mead and stayed in Mead throughout their entire academic career. So those are some unique challenges, and I think Mead is in a different place now than it was when I left 20 years ago, and certainly when I was a student 30, 40 years ago. And that will be, as we grapple with that as a board, as a system, that will be a unique new reality for us to take on and to make work and to have Mead continue to be the same fantastic system that it always has been in a unique new reality.
Okay. The district has seen a lot of success, but both in the classroom, but also, I guess, on the field and on the court. This year, we've recognized some of the Mead School District teams: girls softball, boys wrestling, cheerleading, and volleyball. And it's some at Mount Spokane, some at Mead, and bringing home state championships. And so we down at the county had passed some proclamations honoring these student athletes, had them and their families down for one of our public hearings there to recognize them. And we love doing that. We love recognizing the success of those athletes. But what role does athletics play in sort of that whole academic experience within the district? And quite frankly, for decades, the Mead School District has had a lot of success when it comes to athletics and gotten a lot of notoriety. I mean, we've had athletes that have gone on to play in professional sports, and certainly in college. But how does that tie together with that holistic academic experience?
Quite simply, kids that are engaged in extracurricular programs, whether it's the athletics we're talking about, whether it's performing arts, whether it's Knowledge Bowl, drama, all of the things that kids can do, every bit of academic data and research that we can pull shows that kids that are engaged in those are kids that are academically successful. I mean, just the ways that the direct correlation between kids that are engaged, that have a sense of purpose as they are passionate about the things that are extracurricular in our schools, it keeps them connected to our school day programs. So athletics are a fantastic example of the ways that our local levy dollars provide great opportunities for kids to engage in the system, and the success has been a hallmark of Mead. It has been something that I think the community has really rallied around. I think just the prominence of a facility like Union Stadium and having that as a focal point for a number of our athletic programs, whether it's Union Stadium, whether it's our high school gymnasiums, or it's out on the softball or baseball field or whatever it might be. Athletics have been something that has been celebrated in the community for a long time, and those kids and those families, the amount of time that they invest both during the school season as well as all the work they do outside of the seasons are things that they're passionate about. But I would say that those athletics are, and the things that kids do in that arena are just one of the many extracurricular, co-curricular opportunities that we have for kids to plug into.
Just a quick anecdote about that. One thing that I I'm pretty plugged into our performing arts programs, and so I go to their awards banquet sometimes at the end of the year, and they do a thing where to demonstrate just what you're talking about, the academic connection to extracurricular activities. So they'll say, pause the concert, and while the director is saying some, setting up the next piece, he'll say, just to illustrate what a quality group of students we have here, let's just take a poll among the let's say it's the wind ensemble. How many of you are in National Honor Society? A lot of hands go up. How many of you are headed to a four-year college? A lot of hands go up. And not only a four-year college, but Ivy League, military academies. I mean, there's a high degree of academic performance in these other groups. And it's not just the performing arts group, it's athletic teams, it's everywhere. In fact, Mead has been recognized for the number of, or I should say the academic performance of athletes in the programs, having high GPAs, the number of valedictorians, so there's an inseparable link between all those activities and strong academic performance.
Okay. And you talked about the performing arts, and it's always one thing that always it's incredible when you see it every year at the Lilac Parade, when you see the size of the Mead and Mount Spokane's bands that are marching there. I mean, so there are a lot of extracurricular activity, not just sports, but I mean those performing arts as well. I mean, so many students are involved in those programs, and I mean it's wonderful to see that those opportunities are there, and it's wonderful to see the students taking advantage of those opportunities that are there as well.
That's one of the reasons, honestly, that people are drawn to our schools, is because the quality of the programs, not only academics. Again, if we draw kind of a circle or bullseye shape around the Mead experience, at the center is academics, but from there is various extracurricular activities. And so we talk about, we use the term a lot, the Mead experience, where it's not just academics. And in fact, I don't know, maybe I'll segue into another topic if that's okay, but in terms of just academics, when we're talking about enrollment, something I wanted to mention too is how, one of the criteria, I guess, for changing enrollment is just in a post-COVID world, parents and students want to take advantage of more learning options. We discovered during that time that online learning is a big deal. That before then, you hadn't heard much about it, and we suddenly proved in a one-year period that every student can learn online in different ways. I mean, some do better than others, but some prefer that as their way that they excel and learn. And so we've tried to really accommodate those students and parents who want alternatives in the form of, other learning options beside the traditional desk and classroom type, scenario. So we're building out what we call Mead learning options, which are several different options ranging from a fully outdoor school experience to an online school experience to kind of a homeschool co-op, so alternative schools. So we're trying to do our best to quickly adapt to the changing needs of families and students, and give students as many learning options as they want.
Okay, that's incredible, and I think that probably goes back to the old mantra that there is no one size fits all that's going to work for every single student out there. And when you look at those online things, I mean, certainly things that weren't around when we were in school, but COVID, I think, with how terrible everything was during that time, it pushed a lot of organizations, a lot of entities, a lot of levels of government, education to, okay, you got to find ways to adapt here, and virtual, whether it's virtual work, virtual learning, online really expanded, and and like you said, it works for some students, and so it's great that you're seeing that option stay available for students that can succeed in that format.
And I think that's the key right there, is for students that can succeed and for families for whom that experience works, having that option is fantastic. I think that the many things that we did learn during the pandemic is, for many kids, it's a disaster, and for many families it doesn't work. And so the bread and butter of what we do is building relationships with kids and families and meeting them face to face, and I just feel so passionate about the ways that experience is the core of what we do. I think relationships matter in education. The power of an educator in a room with kids and building that connection is invaluable. But that being said, the ways that technology is an influence and needs to be a part of what we do with kids during the school day and preparing them for their lives, no doubt that that's got to be a part of what we offer and something that we need to equip families with options to be able to access.
Yeah. And as a Mead parent, I'd like to thank the district for taking a stand and opening schools during COVID before many regional schools in our area did. So I mean, I think it made a huge difference. The year that Mead School District opened, my son was going into kindergarten, and I remember us having the conversation with him, and we said, "Okay, now, buddy, do you want to go to the school, or do you want to do school online on a computer here at home?" And he says, "Oh, I want to go to the school." And we told him, we said, "Okay, well now, not all of your friends are going to be there. Some of your friends are going to be doing school at their house, so they're not going to be there." And he says, "That's okay. I'll make new friends."
Yeah.
And
It was such a wild time. I mean, I remember, very vividly that kind of that era, and we really grappled with that decision, but we decided ultimately we were one of the first districts in the state to do that. And I mean, shout out to our staff during that area. I mean, we did it for parents and families, and that was, I think a wise decision at the time, but it wasn't without a lot of work, to be honest with you. I mean, our staff really reinvented a new model of in-person education. There were literally classrooms cleared out of furniture. We had to figure out where to store things, where to put students, where to have lunch and have a gym and I mean, it was in a very short amount of time. And so looking back, I mean, if there's anything, there were a lot of, benefits and challenges to doing that, but what comes to mind right now is just that our staff really adapted and performed some miracles in a short amount of time. So testament to the quality of the staff that we have at Mead.
Absolutely. Keeping on that sort of that online and virtual sort of topic, what impact is social media having on students in the district, and kind of what do you recommend that parents can do to kind of I guess, for lack of a better term, sort of protect their students from that influence, and sort of what influence does that have when it comes to school and the district?
Well, it's an important question, but I think it's an open question. And I think that anyone that wants to draw a direct line between some of the mental health challenges we're seeing and some of the issues that kids are experiencing to that in social media may have trouble. But I think at the same time, what we do realize is that if we go beyond just the reality of social media, I think we deal with the larger reality of just screen time. The amount of time that kids are looking at their phone and spending with their phones and spending on, and whether if it's not a phone, it's a computer screen. If it's not a computer screen that's at their house, it's the one that they're sitting in front of in class. And so as a system, our goals and our aspirations around wanting to equip and prepare kids to succeed in a world that's increasingly digital, we always have to be the mentors and the guides for helping kids realize healthy and safe boundaries. And so we've got to be aware over the course of, if we take a secondary school experience, kids walk through 6 classes over the course of a day, and we've got to be cognizant of the amount of time they're sitting in front of a screen during those 6 periods. It's a little easier at the elementary level when a teacher's got a group of kids in class for that 6 or 7 hours in the day, and they can really monitor that group of kids that are in front of them. But when you're dealing with 6 different adults who have different expectations and different content they're teaching, the ability to have the world of information at your fingertips it's an amazing thing. It's something that, I think for the 3 of us, if we could have imagined having the world at our fingertips, or the internet in your pocket, that would have been a novel concept, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. But here we are, and we've got to do a great job, whether we like it or not. We've got to do a great job of helping kids navigate the world of social media, of online presence, and helping them understand what safe and healthy boundaries look like. We've got to partner with families as we do that work, and we're really equipping ourselves to do that. We put together a tech advisory committee that has met over the course of the last year. We hosted an event. We used a documentary. A medical doctor out of Seattle, Dr. Ruskin, put together not only a book, but a documentary that really talks about the impact of screen time. So this Screenagers documentary was one that we showed vetoed and hosted, and we had really good turnout at that event. And we're really embarking on this process of kind of dialing in our expectations for technology use in the building. And that's both from a teacher and a computer and the devices that we give to kids, but also their own devices. And just committing to the fact that learning time needs to be sacred, and that we need to do a great job of creating clear expectations and boundaries for kids. And even though there may be, as we navigate this in the year ahead, and we move forward on a policy that is during class time, we do not allow phones. There's probably going to be some withdrawals experienced by kids. But uniting, locking arms, doing that work internally and in partnership with parents is the place we need to be.
Okay. Well, I think a lot of parents are very thankful for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Some good discussions.
Yeah. You know, at a time where you've seen a lot of districts have difficulty, say, let levies and bonds pass, you know, Mead has been fairly successful in that. What do you attribute that to?
I think that the success recently is really predicated upon getting a clear message out, because people are asking really good questions about their tax bill. I think people are asking really good questions about their tax bill at a time when they're seeing that their costs are going up. They're seeing the impacts of inflation. They're seeing that their home value has skyrocketed, their property value has skyrocketed. And so the current predicament we're in, school districts throughout Spokane County have all seen a double-digit decline in levy support. So it used to be, it was just 15 years ago that local levies were a supermajority threshold, and so they regularly passed at that 60% mark. Okay. Not one area district would have passed their local levy at the 60% threshold in this most recent cycle. Okay. So I think what we're seeing people ask really good questions about just their personal economics. They're asking good questions about schools and how we're spending money, and it's part of a school board's job, it's part of a superintendent's job, it's part of a school district's job to be transparent, to be clear, to be open, and to demonstrate value, because the state funds basic education. But what we have said time and time again is that basic education is just that, it's basic. And so the extracurriculars we talked about, all of the additional programs we talked about that kids are passionate about, the electives that they take, AP coursework, a lot of the intervention work we do is work that happens outside of state basic education funding. So local levies continue to be just an absolutely vital part of what we do on a day-to-day basis with kids in schools, and we certainly appreciate the recent passage of our local levy, so we're not going to have to go there for another 3 years, and so over this 3-year cycle we'll continue to demonstrate value to our local taxpayer.
All right, well, I'm afraid we're out of time, but I'd like to thank you both for joining me here today. And, you know, Travis, Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'd like to thank our audience for joining us on Spokane County Spotlight. As a reminder, as always, a copy of today's video can be found on the Spokane County homepage and also the Spokane County YouTube channel. So thank you again for joining us on another episode of Spokane County Spotlight.